So, welcome, Black y'all. Survive or Die Inc. The choice is yours, and we got the young gods out here. We building. You know what I'm saying? And we get ready to talk some talk, as real men should. So, just listen up. You know what I'm saying, to a lot of things that's being said, because one of the main problems that us OGs have, and I'm calling you out, we don't listen or take the time to listen to our youth, man, and really feel where they're coming from and how we can, better their situations. You dig? So we just build it. So just flow along. You dig? Power. So in response to you, the first thing we want to do, man, is again acknowledge our position. You know what I'm saying? People talk about survival. People talk about, they want to be independent. They talk success. But the problem is we're not willing to follow the protocol to be successful or to become independent. You know what I'm saying? So we still looking for handouts somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? Being self-sufficient takes a lot of sacrifice. And it's basically like giving up your comfortability to the entire world. You know what I'm saying? I know people, man, who are living off grid and don't even, they got rid of their cell phones and all that shit. You dig? A lot of us ain't there yet. So we got to figure out our position, where we are in this world, what our position is as Black men. So the next degree to that, you got to understand or even recognize why we're in this position. You see what I'm saying? So that within itself, bro, it takes a lot of soul searching. Not just soul searching, you could just look at the history of African people from beginning to now. Just take a lot of homework. Exactly. You got to study. You know what I'm saying? You have to study. Read outside of your comfort zone. A lot of people really irk the shit out of me because they become so entrenched inside of their box, whether it be religious, whether it be even African spirituality. People get so caught up, man, into that one specific ideology that nothing else exists outside of it. That's not balance. Because if we say we the original man, if we say we God, then isn't God the author and knower of all things? So that means we got to study biology. We got to study chemistry. We got to study the sun, moon, and stars. We have to know the weight of the universe in these things. You got to know how much hair you got on your head, hair you got on your face, how many
Douglas Boulevard to 125th Street in New York City. They have come to celebrate a festival they call the 4th of July. It's an ironic and accusatory title, highlighting the fact that American independence in 1776 did nothing for enslaved blacks. In fact, the Constitution, when ratified, measured all slaves as only 3/5 of a person.
Frederick Douglass argued that July 4th had a different meaning for African Americans than for whites. At that day, July 4th, 1776, the vast majority of black people in North America were enslaved. And then for the remaining another 90 years, they found themselves also enslaved.
Shaka Shakur is the leader of the Harlem chapter of the new Black Panther Party.
You don't exist for that white devil. He didn't even cut an eye. He didn't even, like he had blinders on like a horse. He didn't even see.
Even in the midst of Barack Obama's historic run for the White House, The new Black Panther Party rejects the idea that politics will provide any real change.
You know, somebody said, well, Barack will be the president. All right, that's fine. So what? Still on erase this? 50 of us could be black presidents from now on. Still on erase this. Still on erase this. You didn't come in because you wanted to. We said we got progress because we can run for president. Man, black folks been running for everything.
In the early 21st century, we see considerable expansion of Black economic political prowess and the visibility and diversity of Black people in popular culture. And the proliferation of Black people in various echelons of power speak to the progress that clearly has been made. And that doesn't mean that there aren't still vestiges of white supremacy. And for those reasons, there are vestiges of Black nationalist sentiment.
I gotta tell the truth about America. America don't care about you, black men and women. Anywhere you go, that the white man is there, the black man is at the bottom. You know it's true.
The Panthers are calling on the gathering crowd to show their disdain for the U.S. system by walking on the flag.
The red on this rag represents the blood of the people who was spilt being over here. The white represents the white man, the devil who brought you over here. Watch how many people are scared to step on that rag. You might as well step on it. It's been stepping on you for 400 years. We're always in a war for the hearts and minds of black people, African people, because we all know July 4th just passed by. And we want people to understand, especially black people, to understand that we have no reason celebrating the independence that we don't possess. If we look around our neighborhoods where we live in the worst conditions, and this is supposed to be the best country. So how can we possibly begin to talk about independence when we're not even independent from European colonialism on any level, be it mental, physical, or spiritual?
The new Black Panther Party burns the flag to show their hatred for the U.S. government. They are calling for a new system of government for and by blacks.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, America.
There you go. That's the F Whitey's Independence Day.
In this condition, man. You want to play? How you may feel about white people. I hate white people. All of them. Every last iota of a cracker, I hate him. Because we're still in this condition, man. You want to play? We didn't come out here to play with nobody.
Samir targets only his people with his Black Power message. He preaches racial separation and rages against police brutality against blacks. He believes that only revolution can liberate his people and rejects the idea that the election of Barack Obama will usher in real change. Samir will use any opportunity to shout his message, even at a festival celebrating African heritage.
We didn't come out here to play today. There's too much serious business going on in the black community to be out here sliding through South Street with white, dirty, cracker whore on our arm, and we call ourselves black men with African garb on. What the hell is wrong with you, black man? You had a doom day with a white girl on your damn arm. We keep begging white people for freedom. No wonder we're not free. Your enemy cannot make you free, fool. You want freedom? You're going to have to kill some crackers. You're going to have to kill some of their babies. Let us get our act together. It's time to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Black power? Black power? I damn it, I said black power. Black power. Black power.
That's wrong.
That's right.
about Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass said a very interesting thing. That was a cracker who said that it is clear that John Brown loved the Negro people more than I did, because although I am willing to live for them, John Brown was willing to die for them. This man comes on your show dressed in BDU, battle dress uniform, replete with beret, which is the uniform of a warrior. A warrior is someone who fights with violence against an enemy in combat. This man has never done that, and I proclaim that he will never do that. You know, he's got on his BDU an emblem of Africa in the tricolor of what is a traditional flag of Libya, the flag that is now flying over Libya, except for Tripoli.
I must stop you right there, sir, because you obviously. I must stop you right here, sir, because you sound.
Right now on Channel 34 yesterday on Democracy Now!, Amy Goodman proclaimed that in Libya, under that flag you have on your arm, Africans are being chased through the streets and murdered and lynched by Libyans. The entire diaspora of the African people into the Western Hemisphere, into the New World, was started by Arabs from above the Sahara. Slavery, which ended in this country a long time ago, is still being carried out as we speak today in Africa. And crackers, as you refer to them, Christian crackers, at their own expense and at danger to their own lives, travel down to places like Somalia and Sudan and Darfur out of their own pocket to buy back into freedom little African boys and girls who are being subjected to slavery.
You sound like a really good coon.
Which are armed militias supported by the Arab patrons. And this man has the audacity to come on your program, sir, and use racial epithets. And I mean, where does one start with this individual?
Well, okay, hold up. Let me address that, because you addressed that to me. For the record, I've allowed you, this is MNN, this is Access Television, I've allowed you to use racial epithets. It is not my job, and I think that I have many times stated my own position, but right now I have a guest, and I'm asking him for his position so that you can evaluate that position and offer something to the conversation. I really don't want to get into Darfur, because I actually think that there are a few misnomers that, and we'll deal with the issue of Darfur and the issue of Libya on some other place in time. I will allow him to respond to your comments right now. I understand where you're coming from. Again, I didn't cut him off. I didn't cut you off. And if someone else calls up with a different opinion, I probably won't cut them off unless they go too crazy. But we'll allow King Samir to address your comments.
Yes, sir. You know, brother, it's that kind of talk that keeps us in this condition of being a weak, punctified, sissified black man. It hurts me, sir, to hear you come on this show sounding like a really good coon, sounding like a black man who's been patted on the head, probably being patted on the head right now by Penelope, hiding in your closet or your bed, baking cookies somewhere. You know, it really sickens me when black people try to wake up our own people. We have our own people who somehow, some way, strive to find a way to intellectualize why they still want to love their enemy. John Brown, I don't give a damn about that cracker. There's nowhere in history that's going to prove to me John Brown gave his life sincerely to help black people get free. What you obviously don't know, sir, is the political agenda that no good cracker John Brown had. It was not to help free black people. It was to make his name become a political name. Did you know John Brown wanted to run for political office? So maybe you, sir, need to go really do some studying about your enemy that you claim to want to represent on this show here today, sounding like a minstrel man. Now, I'm glad the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey gave us the red, black, and green. This has nothing to do with Libya, and I will not allow you to sit here and equate this flag with Libya. This flag has been in existence for a very long time, sir. So what you need to do is really go pay attention and do your studies. Did you know the white man, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America is behind Darfur. They're behind Somalia. They're behind Libya. They're behind Afghanistan. They're behind everywhere black people are suffering, sir. So don't sit up here and act like you just some old intellectual smartass, because really you sound like a good fool. Stand up, black man, be a man today, and stop defending this cracker.
Whoa, that was volatile. All right, as I said before, we're getting to the issue of Libya and Darfur and John Brown at some other time. And you can call me and ask me specifically what my views are on John Brown and Frederick Douglass and his assessment, and you'll probably find that we differ. In the meantime, because we're running out of time, we got about 5 minutes left, and the goal of this show is to actually come up with specific things that we can do as a people to move from point A to point B, yes, irrespective of white people. You know, I do sometimes think that we spend a lot of time either you use saucier words than I do, but some of the things that you said I actually subscribe to.
Yes, sir.
In point of fact, I do think that we spend far too much time trying to get the love of our white daddy, mm-hmm, as opposed to taking care of our black children.
That's right.
We do have a number of problems. We have problems in housing. We have problems in education. We have problems in living day to day.
How many solutions do we have?
Well, this is where I want to get. This is where we understand the problems.
Right. We could talk about the problems all day.
Let's talk about some solutions.
Well, it starts with self. You know, I was just speaking with an elder on the bus here, and we had a nice conversation. And as I told the elder, whatever we do, at the end of the night, we still have to look at ourselves in the mirror. We have to see that God in ourselves. We have to wake up, clean up, and stand up. We can no longer bow down to our oppressor or the oppression. We got to fight. We have to fight. Fighting comes in many different degrees. Mm-hmm. Everybody can't be a frontline soldier like King Samir. But we need doctors. We need cooks. We need lawyers. We need judges. We need teachers. We need people who can plow the field. We need people who can clean the tools. So we need everybody to get in where they fit in and build a nation. Let's all come together to form that united front. I don't care what your religion is, as long as it's black. I don't care if you worship water. Just make sure that's the dirtiest water you can find. It's the blackest water on the planet, if that's what you're going to worship. But let's get out here, feed our people, educate our people, clothe and organize and mobilize our people to freedom and independence. I wish we had gotten to this a little sooner, but there was variables. But I actually don't subscribe to the Frederick Douglass philosophy that John Brown was better because John Brown was somehow willing to die. I don't think death in and of itself dictates what it means to win. Right. I don't think there's ever been a war where they counted up dead people and said, you got more dead people, so you win. You win. That's right.
We need a nation that is committed to living. As you said, We need doctors. We need economists. We need cooks. We need builders. We need architects. We need those things. We need those things. We need a nation. We need a nation. We don't just need dead bodies. Right. I've been able to replace him. Mm-hmm. You know, Marcus is dead. Our children are dying in leaps and bounds, and it's not doing us any good.
Right. And as long as we come with the John Brown ideology, we're going to remain dead.
Well, I never, I
don't buy into that stuff.
Yeah, I don't even want to bring John Brown into the.
I love Frederick Douglass, but Frederick Douglass had a white woman.
I can't deal. There are issues with Frederick Douglass that I don't necessarily agree with. There are things Malcolm did I don't necessarily agree with, and I love Malcolm to death.
And there may be some things I do you may not agree with.
There's things I do on Monday that by Wednesday I'm shaking my head saying, no, I shouldn't have done that. Right. Anyway, we're going to have to wrap this up. We've run out of time. We could take this on and on and on and on and on. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of questions people have. And next week, you get a chance to take a shot at me. But in the meantime, it has been my pleasure to have King Samir on the show, to hear from you. It has been your pleasure to be able to hear from King Samir, unedited, something something that you'll never be able to do anywhere else in the world. And we'll see you next week. And hopefully it'll be rock and roll one more time. Excellent. You can run that. I like that. I think the jacket Geraldo. I thank all of them for showing the world that still exists. For showing the world everything who will kill
Black. Walking while black, breathing while black, they gun us down in the street.
Fresh boots for the new recruits. I raise an arm and a salute as I address the troops. They say black riders is extreme, that's how we gotta move. And tell the truth, we've been betrayed, so now we sucker proof. Niggas hating cause we do it like no other do. They throwing shade, we still shining like the month of June. Let these suckers speculate while we keep making moves. We pace across the nation, drop power statements. Our number twos bring terror to the state, cause we propagating in the booth. Asthmatic with the flow and spreading like the flu. We military campaign on the track. Most of niggas in the game seeking fame in they raps. Guess the grain breaks psychological chains with these facts. Stick a move on these haters, launch a counter attacks. Learn the lessons from the past, so we sticking with the jab. Keep these suckers at a distance while we execute the task.
We must pick up the gun and aim it in the right direction. For far too long, we as black people have been tricked, bamboozled, and manipulated by the evil, racist demons who run this country, who run the United States of America. These demons have caused massacres and mass amount of slavery. Back in the days on the plantation, the most rebellious leader will be drugged in front of the plantation. All the slaves will be brought off the hut. We as black people have been busted upside the head, drugged from Africa, and forced in chains to pick cotton for these busted-ass demons. It's time for us to get together and unite.
This rap is revolutionary African propaganda scattered throughout the entire planet. Communication device like antennas and satellites. Every time I grab the mic and recite what I write, it's like lyrical spirituals of enslaved ancestors round the campfire plotting how to defeat the oppressor. We're the root of the revolution. We need wealth redistribution to control our institutions. We're ruthless, rebellious warriors, black riders. The spirit of Tupac is inside us, it's thug life. I represent the resurrection of insurrection. It's time to criticize the unjust with the weapon.
He will be brutally assassinated for rebellious activity in order to instill fear into our people. For far too long, generation after generation, we have been instilled with this fear. We have been instilled with this cowardice. Now it's time for us to stand up and get together to represent black power every hour. We represent the Black Rock, which is the new generation Black Panther Party for self-defense. We recognize the old generation. The old Black Panther Party got brutally assassinated by the evil demons. COINTELPRO and J.K. Edgar Hoover. He pushed in the crack cocaine, had Hewitt, and everybody smoking dope. Now we recognize what's going on. Now we see that you manipulated us and pumped guns into our community. They smuggled these things into the black community to confuse us, to trick us, to banging on each other. Now we aware, we are conscious. We recreated the Black Panther Party because it was a need to retaliate on the evil demons. On this mic, you're gonna hear today. Comrade, Minister of Public Relations, erect to get at y'all, to make y'all understand what needs to be understood. This is Sergeant Scar, our ground force commander. He come through banging on y'all, letting y'all know the truth, busting you upside the head and breaking falsehood open.
Huh? What? Yeah. Huh? Growing up in these streets, huh? Learn not to fuck with police, and it's just how it be, huh? We yelling fuck PIGs, huh? And if you feel how we feel, fuck with BRLP, huh? Growing up in these streets, huh? Learn not to fuck with police, and it's just how it be, huh? We yelling fuck PIGs, huh? And if you feel how we feel, fuck with BRLP, huh? I'm from the city where they coin the term pit. Never fuck with they dirty ass ever since I was a kid. Seen him in my community, searching, looking for truancy. When and asking questions just so we can be mutants. Excuse me when I'm under arrest and being detained. What did I catch? You don't need to know my motherfucking name. You better put the fit to you, I don't even exist. And it might not be your best choice to put your hand on my wrist. Cause in my neck of the woods it's already understood. And don't nobody want your dirty ass patrol around the hood. You can bet your bottom dollar, snatch your ass about a collar. Let these motherfucking choppers serve your ass in something proper. While you deep in the cul-de-sac, we dwell in the growing up in these streets, learn not to fuck with police, and it's just how it be, we yelling fuck PIGs, and if you feel how we feel, fuck with BRLP, growing up in these streets, learn not to fuck with police, and it's just how it be, we yelling fuck PIGs, and if you feel how we feel, fuck with BRLP,
fuck the pigs and everybody fuck with them. If you scared of the pigs, then you ain't a real hitter. I'm a field nigga. Are you a house nigga? The type to let the peck of wood rape your spouse, nigga? Oh, no. That's out, nigga, cause everywhere I go, everybody knows fuck the po-po, fuck 5-0, these pigs could die slow, let's grab the rifle and get ready for war. We got tires on fire in the middle of the street, booby traps and bunkers, our jungle is concrete, we mob deep like them niggas in Queens. If you tired of police, you need to get with the team, BRLP, known to bang on the beats, they say we extreme, cause we move like a machine, but we never mechanical, we supernatural, magical, galactic Panthers getting active.
Growing up in these streets, learn not to fuck with police, and it's just how it be, we yelling fuck PIGs, and if you feel how we feel, fuck with BRLP, growing up in these streets, learn not to fuck with police, and it's just how it be, we yelling fuck PIGs, and if you feel how we feel, fuck with BRLP,
Peace and Black Power, and welcome to another episode of the Black Survive or Die class. The choice is yours. Broadcasting live every Warrior Wednesday here, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, by the National Minister of Defense of the Black Riders Liberation Party, under our 5-star General Shaka Shakur, and the National Deputy Field Marshal of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, under the leadership General National Chairwoman Crystal Muhammad, and speak of none other than my atomic A-alike and our modern day George Jackson, Minister King Samir Shabazz. He is on the road currently and asked me to begin the class, and hopefully when he gets to his destination, he'll be able to join the class. He does have a message for us, so I'm going to hold it down at this particular time until we see whether or not he's able to make it here. So begin reading from this book. The videos that I played earlier were in reference to different organizations, same goal. So over the years, if you have known King Samir or you have followed his revolutionary trek, he's been in different organizations at key points along the way and has helped to mobilize and to organize African people towards liberation. So he's been doing this for over 30 years now, and began in the Nation of Islam and went from the Nation of Islam to the New Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, and from the New Black Panther Party for Self-Defense to the Black Riders Liberation Party. So these shifts and movement throughout organizations did not necessarily mean that these organizations were left behind. His services was needed in different places and spaces throughout this 30-year sojourn for the liberation of African people and the destruction of our enemies. As many times he has survived assassination attempts, he has survived incarceration and the like to be able to stand boldly and strongly against our enemies. You know, one of the only people in the United States to be condemned and sued by the Senate, the President, and the Congress. The only other person, just a little trivia, is Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Peace be upon him. So, we're looking at one who always stood boldly in the face of adversity and did not allow adversity to be a factor, even though with much adversity that had came to him and much loss that has confronted him along the way to stifle his commitment to the liberation and salvation of African people. One who would remind us to wake up, clean up, and stand up. So in that revolutionary sojourn, when you look at organizational structure, a key factor in is you go where you're needed. Whatever post that you are assigned, you take charge of that post and all Black Nation property in view. You walk that post in your proper manner, always keeping on the alert. These are organizational general orders that move cross-culturally indiscriminate to where you sit. So you have a organizational charge that is compounded with an ancestral charge for you to take charge of your post and all nation Black property in view, to walk your post in a perfect manner, always keeping on the alert. So if you are on the alert, you are hyper vigilant to constantly assessing the position of threats and weaknesses within your perimeter or your assigned area of defense. So when you look at the National Minister of Defense and his duty and responsibility in regards to his overview and oversight, you see a lot of those duties and responsibilities are interwoven even down to the general orders. So we have to look at that properly, and this is why this orientation class called the Black Survive or Die class is there to paint a vivid picture of what is necessary and also paint a vivid picture of what is at stake if we do not orient our minds properly towards a spirit of insurrection. A spirit of insurrection that will insurrect us from the mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually dead state to be able to survive and thrive so we can get to the point of living. Throughout this sojourn, we have not lived, though we have had countless of times of existence here, we have not lived. You cannot live in oppression. You can simply wait to die in oppression. So until we are in a position that is beneficial to our future generations, we are simply returning here from one lifespan into the next, not living. So we have a duty and responsibility to ensure that the future generations that return here through our lineages incarnate in a place that is befitting of their existence so they can live. We are a life affirming people, always have been and always will be. So our ancestral line span, going back through millions of ancestors, our ancestral line is interdependent on us as we are on them in regards to their survival. It's linked to our survival. So their said ability to be able to come back through the lineages, to come back through the bloodlines to continue to incarnate in this physical realm is dependent upon our willingness to continue to reproduce. To reproduce physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, to reproduce, to be productive time and time and time and time again in a repetitive state, in a cycle that gets better with each incarnation. So we have that duty and that responsibility. So we have the Black Survive or Die class every Warrior Wednesday, and we have had it since almost the life of the program. This was a continuation of a class that began many years ago across several other platforms. So with us reconnecting and reestablishing our bond in service to one another, in service to African people, this program was instituted with that in mind. So reinstituted here on Dual Knowledge Radio as a reminder, as a guide, as a point of reference along the path of liberation. So we put these classes together. We put these specific survival degrees together with that intention in mind of setting a stage to where African people can come and learn and operate from a particular space where it challenges the psychology and the mental emotional hold that our enemies have upon us, that they have on our heartstrings, that quells the fire that burns within us, that insurrection spirit subsides at a certain point. It does not continue to ascend to the heights where people will do. And we come from people who do, and not from people who simply speak. Speaking is a tool that leads to action. We don't want to discount the speech, but we want to be just as ferocious in our actions as we are with our speech. If we look at wisdom, today is wisdom degree, all being born to culture, freedom. So if we look at wise words and wise ways and actions, this comes from a space of knowledge. So knowledge is that foundation that you operate from. So we move from knowledge to applied knowledge. So there's a way for you to demonstrate that which you know. And if we know who our enemies are, because I hear a lot of that talk, I hear a lot of, we know what the enemy's done. We know who the enemies are. And as soon as they say that, they add a conjunction or a contrast to destroy that statement with their next statement. To put these two thoughts together that are contradictory and seek to pass them off as if there's something complementary and not contradictory about those statements. We know what the enemy has done. We know who our enemies are. But, and then the next statement becomes very, very damaging. Very, very inflicting and indicting of the victim and not for the enemy. We got all the smoke in the world for the victim. We got all the smoke in the world for the victim. We got all of the heat. We got all of the fire, and we can't wait to be another victimizer to the victims. We got no conversation, not even conversation for our enemy. No tough talk for our enemy. No nothing for our enemy. We get nice. We get jovial. The cowardness builds up in the speech, and we cower down. and we whisper. We're loud with each other and whisper in front of our enemy. And make sure that the mind that exists within us is a mind that is coherently controlled optimally by them. So they don't have to be physically present in order to be present. So our operational mandate becomes to be a collaborator and accomplice in our destruction. So classes like these are necessary to break that psychological hold and for us to be able to look at ourselves in a certain kind of fashion, to be able to see self for who we truly are and not for who we simply appear to be. So this is some of the meaning behind these organizational classes that we have here on this broadcast through Knowledge Radio. So let me read from this sacred text right here. Because for all of the atrocities that have happened and that continue to happen on a daily basis amongst our people, we should have some thoroughly directed, righteous rage. So let's look on page 40 of Blood in My Eye. The counter-terrorists, that's us, faceless, nameless specialist in all martial arts, is the first soldier of the people. So martial arts ain't just what you hear about kung fu. This is talking about physical warfare, the art and the science of these martial disciplines, your ability to use your body, your hands, your feet, your heads, your elbows, your knees to engage in mortal combat and the destruction and decimation of your enemy. This counter-terrorist, us, faceless, nameless specialist in all martial arts, is the first soldier of the people. His violence will be swift. And when I say he and his, I'm talking about us as a collective, the brothers and the sisters. His violence will be swift, surprising, explosive, and tied to a clearly political matrix, meaning that everything that is done by this counter-terrorist is for the benefit of our people. His violence will be swift, surprising, explosive, and tied to a clearly political matrix. So for those who are not prepared to engage in physical violence, you know what's violent? Growing your own food, teaching your own children, having them enroll in African-centered programs that orient their mind around an insurrection spirit, a goal or aim and objective of liberation. That's very, very volatile. That's very, very violent. So if that's your lane, that's your lane. Growing your own food through agriculture. You're not in an interdependent state. Learning your cultural disciplines. Disciplining yourself to learning a language that your enemy cannot detect. That's volatile. That's volatile. Learning your cultural traditions and practices. Cleaning up your bloodline, that's volatile. Because as long as we exist in a state where we are disconnected from our ancestral lineage and realm, we are in a state of hopelessness and desperation where we cling to other people other than self. It brings a renewed spirit for you to look into your ancestral past and understand your purpose. That's very, very volatile. All of these things are an alchemical mix to get your mind and body oriented, trained, and prepared to be the first soldier of your people. So tied in this clearly political matrix. In some cases of assassination, it may be wise to make them appear as accidents, but that still doesn't reduce the political content. So if you hear about Mocking Dog of the Haitian Revolution, he used poison. So these deaths look like an accident. There are plenty of assassination attempts that were made to look like accidents. Plane malfunctions, brakes going out on cars, and all of these things. But when it's heard about, those that know what happened. These workers properly distributed and going about their task with secret, flawless precision, and in that perfect unison with the political front will shake the fascists to their very foundations. So you see how our enemies have this human trafficking ring going on, and this is thousands of black women that are missing and thousands of black children that are missing. There's not even a thought about that. Not even anybody taking them into consideration at all. So this is how it looks to the rest of the world. But if you haven't been in places where people are gone missing or found dead, you don't know the psychological, emotional, and spiritual impact that has on the people who still live. So for these ones who work evil, imagine them coming home to their children missing or their children dead in their houses. The kind of fury that would exist in them. So this mind frame about this precision, moving very, very flawless about. If you want to shake these fascists to their core, you have to understand these kind of situations, painting these kind of pictures that happen. The children safe on their way to school and they never come home. It's a different kind of situation. It's something that confronts African people all over the planet, not just here in the Americas, all over the planet. Kidnapped, killed, organs sold into human trafficking rings. This kind of mind frame and that exists. The hell that has to happen to a mother or a father, a black mother or a black father, to find out that their children are missing or to find out that their children are dead. This is the kind of orientation and the reality that we live in. That's not roses. This melanin that we speak so highly of, people getting killed for. Our young children at school being found rolled up in gym mats with no organs. Young children, bodies being left out in the sun, 90 and 100 degree weather for 8 hours. Their limited, highly selective violence is the absolute minimum for enforcing the demands of the people. Look at this keywords, highly selective violence. And then absolute minimum for enforcing the demands. We make demands. We say we want this and we want that. Prove it. Anything less will fail. We're not dealing with nice people who will throw down their guns and submit to our will because we outnumber them. From the vantage point of the established power in history, they know that one armed man can control 1,000. People's war is not polite or proper. It is possible to limit. It's not possible to limit the scope and range of violence to what the enemy will bear without reacting. Any idea, any activity that may do violence to their control will never be permitted. People's war is improvisation and more improvisation. It is organizing the masses around their realistic needs and moving them against whatever forces restrict their passage to power. I repeat, realistic day-to-day needs should be the basis of organizing people and making them conscious of revolution. That the world, the universe must revolve. That it will stop, stagnate, and die for no man's privilege. So where are we organizing the masses around their realistic needs and moving them against whatever forces restrict their passage to power? Where's this happening at? He repeats, realistic day-to-day needs should be the basis of organizing people. Realistic day-to-day needs should be the reason for organizing people and making them conscious of revolution. This is what we're here for. These things are restricted. These things are stagnated. These things are stifled. And a unrelenting resistance force, just as the universe, just as night and day, just as life and death. When it speaks about that the world, the universe must revolve, that it will stop, stagnate, and die for no man's privilege. So that's us or them. That's us or any of them. Now, further states, one of my favorite quotes in this book, if we accept revolution, we must accept all that it implies. If we accept revolution, we must accept all that it implies. Repression, counterterrorism, days filled with work, nervous strain, prisons, funerals. So if you use that moniker, or if you use that attribute, revolutionary, if we accept revolution, if we accept the term revolutionary, we must accept all that it implies. Repression, counterterrorism, days filled with work, nervous strain, prisons, funerals. So this is where we need to look. These are the things that we need to ask ourselves. A long rhetorical question. Is this for us? Are we the revolutionary? This what comes along with being a revolutionary and proclaiming that you are preparing for a revolution. This is what comes along with it. Our present problem as soldiers is to protect our political people at their work and enforce the increasing demands that the people, as a political result, will make upon power. Now, listen to what George Jackson says about the soldier. The soldier is the counterterrorist, comma, the bodyguard, comma, the first of a military vanguard. The soldier is a counterterrorist, comma. Where are our counterterrorist measures? The bodyguard, who are we protecting? What are we doing to secure them? Do they trust that we will do what's necessary to eliminate the threat that comes against them? The soldier is the counter terrorist. That means that terrorism exists, and the difference between those terrorists making it to us or not is the counter terrorist. And one of these days, I'll get all the way into that. The counter terrorist, the bodyguard, the first of a military vanguard, the duties of a soldier. I get into that. One of these days I'll do that. I'll get right into that. The distance between him and the class enemy is a free fire zone. The distance between him and the class enemy is a free fire zone. AKA a clean shot, an open shot. So whether you at a far distance or a near distance, or you engaged in close quarter battle, the distance between you and the class enemy is a free shot. He has to be the baddest and strongest of our kind. Listen to these attributes and these characteristics. Calm, sure, self-possessed, completely familiar with the fact that the only things that stand between black men and the violent death are the fast break, quick draw, and snapshot. Terrible Jonathan's teeth on the barrel of the political tool, hardened against the concrete of the most uncivilized jungles on the planet. Chicago, St. Louis, Los Angeles, San Francisco, tested in a dozen fires. Tall, slim youth, the new nigga with a gun and the eyes of the hunter, comma, the hunter of men. Look at the type of orientation, transformation leader that has to take place. From the hunted, the statement says the hunt is on and you're the prey. To go from the hunted, the pursued, the chased after, to the hunter, to the one who sets the traps, to the one who watches the activity, the one who conducts surveillance and waits for the opportunity to strike. To go from the hunted to the hunter, from the pursued to the pursuer. Let me read this last quote. Well, small paragraph, and then I'm going to roll out of here because I don't know if King is going to get it. So next week, I'm sure he will have this message that he has for us. It'll have to probably be next week. So let me read on page 68. Of Blood in My Eye. The ambush. The only form of attack employed by guerrilla forces is the ambush, the surprise attack. There must never be any front lines or defending of territory. The only engagements that are carried to completion are the ones that we are winning. After an initial attack, if the enemy regains himself and counterattacks, we disengage and simply go home to await the next opportunity when we can catch him asleep with his women moving in convoys and on the toilet. So I get into that. One of these days I get into that. I check the schedule and see what King has, and I get into the counter-terrorist, the duties of a soldier, the bodyguard, the first of a military vanguard, the ambush, the camouflage, autonomous infrastructure, and a couple of other things. So I get into them in detail. And you can see how these have served African people towards our liberation and how they will continue to. So catch us here next Wednesday on the Black Survivor Die Class. The choice is yours. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Do the Knowledge Radio with the National Minister Defense of the Black Riders Liberation Party and the National Deputy Field Marshal of the New Black Panther Party for Self-Defense under the leadership and auspices of General National Chairwoman Crystal Muhammad, the Black Dragon himself, our modern-day George Jackson, Minister King Samir Shabazz, and in his words, I love you more than you hate your black self. Black power, Habibi 48, like that.